You smell it before you understand it. Wet hay, rotting straw. The iron tang of blood that's already dried, but never quite gone. The kind of smell that clings to stone walls like memory. You step into the barn, but it doesn't feel like a barn anymore. It feels like a courtroom that forgot it was once meant for animals. A pig is tied to a wooden post, not slaughtered, not butchered, just waiting. And across from it, a man kneels, shackled, head bowed. Not praying, just trying not to look up. The priest does not look at either of them. He reads. Not from scripture at first, but from a record, names, dates, witnesses. The language is clinical, almost bored. As if what happened here is just another item on a long, exhausting list of human stupidity. You realize something strange. The pig has a name in the record, the man barely does. That's your first clue that this is not just about sin. It's about control. Here's what matters. You are in medieval France, somewhere between the 13th and 16th century. A world where the church doesn't just guide morality, it defines reality. Where law and religion are not separate systems, but the same blade, just sharpened on different sides. And in this world, animals can be criminals, not metaphorically. Not symbolically. Legally. Court records from places like Normandy, Burgundy, and Paris show real trials. Documented, signed, witnessed, preserved. Pigs, goats, cows, even a rooster once dragged into human courts and judged for crimes that sound absurd until you realize how seriously they were taken. The charge, carnal sin, bestiality, was not just taboo. It was considered a direct violation of the natural order created by God, a tearing of the boundary between human and animal, body and soul, sacred and profane. And if that boundary could be broken once, it could be broken again. That terrified them. So they didn't just punish the human. They punished the animal too. Because in their logic, sin wasn't just committed, it was shared. Yes, medieval justice believed in mutual guilt between species. Which is wild, considering half the population couldn't read, but somehow pigs were legally accountable. Let me explain how this worked. When someone was accused of bestiality, it wasn't handled quietly. There were investigations, witness testimonies, physical examinations. Yes, actual inspections of both human and animal bodies for evidence. Because apparently medieval France had two settings, extreme shame and forensic obsession. If enough suspicion existed, a trial would be held, and not some informal village decision. A formal proceeding. Judges, clerks, priests, sometimes even defense arguments, for the animal. You heard that right. Animals were occasionally assigned representation. Not because anyone believed the goat had a compelling legal strategy, but because the ritual of justice mattered more than logic. This was theater. Dark, ritualistic theater designed to reinforce one message. The order of God must not be broken. Now picture the crowd. Villagers gather not out of curiosity, but fear. They stand close, whispering. Not about what happened, but about what it means. Because if one person crossed that line, who else might? If sin can happen in secret, then no one is safe from suspicion. This is how control spreads. Not through laws alone, but through paranoia. You don't need chains when people start policing themselves. Then comes the sentence. For the human, it's almost always death. Hanging, burning, occasionally mutilation before execution, because medieval justice loved a dramatic finale. For the animal, also death, usually by hanging or burning, publicly, visibly, because the animal must be seen as guilty. If it dies like livestock, it's just food. If it dies like a criminal, it becomes a warning. And here's the part that hits harder than it should. Sometimes, the animal was acquitted. There are records where courts declared the animal innocent, that it had been forced, that it acted without understanding, which raises a question no one at the time wanted to ask out loud. If the animal can be innocent, what does that say about the human system judging it? But don't get comfortable, because innocence didn't always save the animal, even when cleared. Some were still killed, quietly, off record, because letting it live felt wrong. Now zoom in. One case, 1457. Savigny-sur-Étang. A sow of female pig is accused alongside a man. The charge, participation in a sexual act. The trial is thorough. Witnesses testify. Details are recorded. The pig is found guilty. But here's where it gets disturbing in a very specific way. The pig is dressed in human clothing before execution, a jacket, sometimes even gloves. Why? Because if you make the animal look human, its punishment feels justified. It's easier to kill something that looks like you. And just like that, the line between human and animal blurs in the opposite direction. Not through sin, through punishment. Now step back and think. This isn't just about sex. It's about hierarchy. Humans above animals. Men above women. Church above all. Bestiality trials weren't just punishing an act, they were defending a structure. A fragile one. Because if people start questioning where the boundaries lie, the entire system starts to wobble. And medieval institutions did not tolerate wobbling. But here's the twist. People still resisted, quietly. In whispers. In hidden practices. In acts never recorded because they were never caught. Because no matter how strict the law becomes, desire doesn't disappear. It adapts. It hides. It waits. And sometimes, it gets someone killed. The priest finishes reading. The crowd goes silent. The man finally looks up. Not at the judge, not at the priest, not at the animal. And for a second, just one, you can't tell which of them is more afraid. Because in this world, guilt isn't about what you did. It's about what they need you to represent. And right now, both of them represent something the church cannot afford to let exist. The sentence is about to be carried out. But the real question isn't who dies. It's why the system needs them both to.